your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar, as the prophecy was once foretold. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I am Master Caster Nickels.
And today we welcome you to Broadcaster Nickels, America. A place full of lockdowns and threats.
Don't flatter me. I
Crying people
my
in the
chin out my
streets.
nose. Hit him harder, I say.
Broadcaster Nickels, if you were one of the people that said, you know what, I'm going to take this experimental vaccine because I just want to get back to life. I want this to all be over, and I'll just do whatever they want me to do to be able to live as a normal human again. And you bit the bullet and you took that experimental vaccine only for them to declare 1 month later, put your mask back on. Broadcaster Nickels, how would you feel right now if that was you?
I'm a sovereign citizen. I don't live by the people's rules. Come and take them. It's all horse shit.
I got Wesley Snipes and the ghost of John McAfee watching my back, all right?
I think after people just started fixating on the coof and just stopped observing anything else or like ignoring everything else, I just stopped listening to everything. I was like, it's such nonsense now. It's like, I know where you're coming from is irrational, dishonest, or something in between. I'm not quite sure, but I mean, what can you do?
You can bend over for Pfizer because they just made billions off of vaccinating a whole chunk of the country, and our federal government has essentially declared, you know that vaccine you took? It doesn't work. Put your mask back on. We're back to lockdowns. We're back to cracking down.
Yeah.
Oh, but by the way, they're holding to take a booster shot. We want you to take a third shot now, even though a year ago they said that'd be
multiple
disastrous.
Positions at the same time, though. They're like at the same time they're just like the vaccine is effective. It protects you, and then but then they're like, no, it lessens the symptoms of when you get it. Oh no, it lessens the spread of you giving it to others. It's like it always just seems to be one or the other, and then at the same time, they're like unvaccinated people are killing vaccinated people, which the statement doesn't even make sense to begin with. But then you have like the new evidence, like Delta strain, where it's like in most cities, and I say most because it's not true everywhere, but it's in most cases, the majority of Delta strain hospitalized people are vaccinated people. Not all, and I will say like a good chunk are unvaccinated, but definitely not the fucking majority.
Yeah.
So, and the people will come from the other argument, or the other side of this argument and be like, well, most people are vaccinated, so it would make sense that the majority of people hospitalized by the new strain are vaccinated.
But then the point of the vaccine?
Exactly, but then it's just like, all right, then let's go back to exactly what I was saying before. It's just like, is the vaccine effective? What?
Man, it's crazy. I mean, and we personally live in an area that has like a 70% vaccination rate, which is way higher than
I don't believe
the rest of the country. Well, that's what they claim.
I don't believe it.
It's funny too, because I had a work thing a couple months ago, or actually no, it was just like a month and a half ago. It was right when shit reopened. So like it was the first week after the Inslee Declaration that all the mandates are done. I think back like June 28th or something like that. Maybe June 25th. A lot of people were very sort of apprehensive about talking about their vaccine. You know what I mean? Like it was a large group of people, and this is a healthcare community, and people kind of like had shifty eyes. Were kind of like, "Don't ask me about the vaccine. I don't want to talk about that." So
yeah,
I wonder how many of them
like
actually
mind your
got
fucking
it.
business eyes.
Yeah, because there were a few people that would walk around to each group and just kind of interject themselves and be like, "Which vaccine did you get? I'm Team Moderna, bro." And like every time that I saw that happen, like I'd look at the other people that he was trying to engage, and I just notice some real like, "The fuck, get off my dick, motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here," like type of energy. And this is the type of people that you would expect would all be vaccinated. So
I just got here, Fred. Back off, bitch.
Yeah. Well, so let me get this straight. The vaccine is safe and effective, but it's giving healthy teenage athlete boys heart attacks and heart problems. It's given multiple notable celebrities heart issues. Fucking our boy Bob Odenkirk just went down.
Not official. Like what's the correlation that you draw
official,
there?
What do you mean official?
Like what's the official
he had a heart
take
attack
on that? He had a heart attack. I know that, but you told me that it was like right after.
It was a couple months after his second shot.
How do you know that? Who said that?
He announced it on Instagram.
He did. So it was from the horse's mouth himself.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this was after his heart attack.
No,
he said this, or he said he took his shot, and
you
then
can go
like,
to his Instagram
2 months later,
and you can see a picture of him getting his second shot.
But no,
about a month and a half before he had the heart attack.
But it's you making that connection. Is what I'm saying. No one else.
Well, no, it's a very well-known connection. People think DMX died from the vaccine too, because he got the vaccine a few days or a week, maybe 2 weeks before he died.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if this is your like observation or if you read this somewhere from somebody else's thoughts. You know, like I was just wondering if this is actually
if you go to the official
that people are talking
database,
about,
you can see that 6,000 people have died from the COVID vaccine. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
But either way, I don't even give a fuck about the safety at this point. I'm just laughing at the people that thought it was going to get them somewhere. They're like, "Oh, I don't have to wear a mask anymore because I got my vaccine." And then Joe Biden just comes in his fucking 1957 Chevy, lifts his glasses up, and he says, "Come on, man. Put your mask back on. I don't care if you got 2 shots and almost lost your arms. You're putting that mask back on."
Yeah. Yeah, there's just no way I'm getting it. Like, at this point, like, it's not going to happen. They're not going to take.
What's the incentive now? They've literally removed every incentive.
I think Biden just told everybody to give $100 per shot or something like that.
Who's lining up for a vaccine where they tell you before you even get the shot that you're still going to have to wear a mask and like social distance and act like a fucking...
That's a really good point.
Who's going to do that?
It's going to be really hard to sell the vaccine now because
over.
Now the people that were holding back are definitely not going to go in now that they know there's no benefit.
Yeah.
Like you know,
and that's why you're hearing talking heads start talking about mandatory enforcement right when this happened, because they know that too. They're like, "Oh well, fuck, we're not getting any new people now. The grift is over." So then all of a sudden, every left wing media organization is like, "Is it time to mandate vaccines? Do we need to use the stick rather than the carrot?" Like all this shit. I'm just like, wow. This is it, man. This is Brave New World. Aldous Huxley tried to tell us about this shit a long time ago. No one listened.
Rest in power, Huxley.
Speaking of resting in power, Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, there was a very, very prescient, bombastic, walkout at the Blizzard campus recently in California. Broadcaster Nickels, how did you feel in your heart when you saw the picture of the 4 people that did the stage the walkout?
All right, there's more. Come on, give him some credit.
There was 4 people plus like 2 guys that were walking to Quiznos that just accidentally got captured.
I just thought it was funny because it was one of those when you actually see the article, the favorable pictures that they publish, it makes you that statement, where people are like the vocal minority. There's a very small amount of people that think this way, and they yell the loudest. That Blizzard walkout was a prime example of that because you're just like, well, this is a legit cause, like people's space was legitimately being violated, as it said in that company, and some things do need to change, right? But it's like, as we all know out there, the familiar faces roll in, and it becomes the tool of another cause, which they seem to attempt with this walkout. But
you mean their list of demands, like 90% of which had nothing to do with the lawsuit?
Nothing to do with the lawsuit, right?
They're like, we want you to bring Zimbabwe children over from the Congo and intern them.
And you're just like, oh my God, man, this shit's everywhere. But then they actually took pictures of everyone. And you're just like, that's it? How many people work at Blizzard? Oh, over 5,000 or close to 5,000? I forget what it is. It's something like 5,000. Like, and you really start counting all the people in those pictures, and you're like, there's less than 200 people here. And that's being generous. And that's being very generous.
Way less than 200. The pictures I saw were like double digits.
I think the group photo they had, the big group photo that was spanning the street, was like a little less than $150. I think it was probably around the 120, 130-ish mark, more like it. But that was, where did all those people come from is the question, because all the rest of the photos were like you said, like a fucking couple handful of people, and then all of a sudden, like, they take this group photo, you're like, did you just like pay people off the street?
I guarantee it. No, I guarantee it. Fucking like George Soros Foundation does shit like that all the time. They go to Craigslist and say, we're hiring actors who want to do like a role in a walkout or whatever, and they pay them good, dude. They pay them like fucking a couple $100 for like an hour of their time, and it's a good gig. I'd probably do it if I was broke in LA, just chilling. Like, all right, I'll go pretend I'm one of the Blizzard walkout people. They can buy me a new video card. But one thing I want to bring up about this is, you've heard of the letter, right? The letter penned by current and former Blizzard employees demanding action. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, God. Yeah.
That
You're
letter,
talking about the White Knighters?
That letter, like, it says current and former employees. It's like 15 to 85 ratio.
Nobody's?
No, 15 to 85 ratio current versus former. It's almost all sour grapes former employees. There are very few current employees on that letter.
And when you say former employees, you're not saying former employees from the actual day and age when Blizzard was relevant.
No.
You're talking about former employees that literally have done nothing for the image of Blizzard, just like grunts. Just grunts.
Yeah, Chris Metzen was not on this letter. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Chris Metzen had nothing to do with this.
He's too busy talking shit about Diablo Hellfire expansion.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, I almost staged a walkout today when I was trying to contemplate what we should preview.
Yeah.
And what we landed on is a game neither of us.
We're not gonna lie, kids. The content pool's pretty dry.
It's a dark time right now because we're going to preview a game that I am not a fan of, and I don't think you're a fan of. But it's big. It's coming out soon, and there's nothing else to talk about. Broadcaster Nickels, are you ready to get to our preview of Battlefield 2042?
Some would say. I'm the only guy that can talk about it.
What's that? You want more Crack Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at the Crack Cellar and facebook.com/the Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our preview of Battlefield 2042. Broadcaster Nickels. What is Battlefield? What is...
You sounded like Hal getting shut down right there. You're like, Broadcaster Nickels. What was the question, Hal?
Well, my history with Battlefield is quite simple. I beta tested Battlefield 2 on the PS3, and that's it. That's my entire history of Battlefield. Didn't like Battlefield 2. I thought it was a clunky, buggy piece of shit, and never went back to it. Now,
wasn't one the one that blew them up? Didn't they do like a remake of the original Battlefield or something? That was like their last big one before the woke one that had the disabled woman on the front cover.
I guess I don't know. Like I've never followed Battlefield too much. The most I followed it was when the wheelchair strong woman took over the last one, and that was the one where we were supposed to get a battle royale that was all like hyped up, and it was going to be like a fire shield that collapses on you like napalm.
Yeah, I remember the circle for at least the trailer. That was the coolest out of all the concepts.
Never came out of like vaporware, right?
No, it did come out. It was just so bare bones that literally the pop drop was it was everything. Like everyone left.
Oh, so it was horrible and it failed. Okay.
Yeah, it was. Well, it just was. People kind of argue like, did it not come out at the right time? Was it not complete enough? Was Warzone just a little bit better enough to pretty much just take all the attention?
Wait, this came out during the same time as Warzone?
Yeah.
Oh God, in fact, they delayed the fuck out of that then.
I think I'd have to go back and look, but I think it actually came out before Warzone.
Yeah, you would hope so if they had any chance. Like, as bad as Warzone is, it does have a very kind of polished, fleshed out experience to it.
But just the fire effect was cool.
It was.
I liked the idea that you were playing in this area that was being slowly consumed by fire. That just made it seem a little bit, a
little bit more Rambo.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool. Definitely more actiony. You know, like the idea of just like mysterious gas clouds just come pouring in some made up location in Russia. I mean, it's cool at first, don't get me wrong, but the fire just seemed like a cooler idea to me. Yeah. It's a shame that it fell through.
I agree. And that being said, Broadcaster Nickels, that comes to quite a quandary in my vast list of questions about this game I haven't given two thoughts about in my entire life. Tell me, what is Battlefield Portal? What is the Portal, Broadcaster Nickels?
Remember when I remember when you were like, yeah, BR is not going to have, or Battlefield's not going to have a BR, and I was just like, yeah, it is, and you're just like, well, nothing's being said, and I was just like, there'll be one, don't worry. and then like a day later, I was like, we were talking about it more, and I further elaborated. I was like, well, it will be their version of the BR, because that's what it always is, right? Like BR, it really was only, Fortnite was really only BR, and then everybody else's interpretation just kept on adding on to it, and everyone always called it something else, you know? Like, I feel like Portal was the point I was trying to make that day. Like, that when I saw the term Battlefield Portal announced, and they're being very nebulous about exactly what it is, but you just have complete server, because that's what it seems like. It's like rent a server type shit. They're going to allow you to rent and host your own servers. It's going to be like an official like thing you can do. And this Portal thing is going to be like Halo Forge, BR, and maybe a couple other things all smashed together. I guarantee you that's what it is. That's just from my own observation.
So
But
you think this is the Battlefield BR?
No doubt. Now, they might make a more official standalone BR version based on this Portal tech.
So then it isn't
they're
the
talking
Battlefield
about.
BR. Which one is it?
It is.
Nickels?
It is. It will just be Portal right now, as what I just described, is just the custom game version. Anyone can just do whatever they want. They can host their own server and literally only have the most crazy cattywampus shit happening on their server, and not have it be even close to what an official server looks like, with just like team deathmatch, capture the flag, big team battle, all that type of stuff, right? But I guarantee you, once that's introduced, one might happen before the other. I'm just saying that it's a very strong possibility once that tech is introduced that they themselves take that tech they made and make a more streamlined, tailored version, the closest thing to a BR that Battlefield can get to, essentially. And I guarantee you that's what Halo's doing too. I thought about this the other day when I was seeing I was watching the tech demo of new Halo Infinite, and I was like, wow, it really is just another Halo. That's just it. I was really disappointed, but then I thought about it. I was like, no, they did show that huge ass map that is one giant map that they say is only part of the storyline, but when you really look at it, it really looks like a BR map. And then the other thing was the original teaser of Halo Infinite, where it was just 3 Marines out in this like big open expanse seeing on a new Halo, and they dropped the flare and the Pelicans coming by or what. I don't exactly remember how it went, but it was something like that. And if you really think about that in hindsight, that was a teaser for a BR. Just some, like that really was a teaser for a BR, and they just weren't saying it. And now that you see like the regular Halo being introduced, and you're seeing the game mechanics being made, them showing that map, and then going even further back and thinking that really weird trailer that doesn't really reflect on anything else they've shown since then. It really just goes back to the full circle point where like all these developers, they're gonna make a BR. It's just going to be called what they want it to be,
Yeah. I saw a couple parts of the Portal trailer that looked sort of BR-ish, but overall it seemed like they're really trying to just be like, this is a sandbox mode. You can just do whatever you want and have fun, which is what they used to call practice or training back in the day, but now they have fancy names for things like that, Broadcaster Nickels.
I'm honestly for it. I'll tell you right now, that is one existing form of anti-cheat technology. Private servers where people that are hosting the server actually give a fuck about the health of the server. So they have moderators and admins that are on 24/7 making sure these people get kicked the fuck off, which is astronomically ahead of what any major developer does currently, right? So just the idea that they're allowing people to host official servers is, just leagues ahead of an anti-cheat. Just alone, day one. Or, well, whenever the Rent-A-Server comes out. But you get what I'm saying.
Suspected Rent-A-Server. You seem very definitive about these predictions, Broadcaster Nickels.
Well, it's confirmed that they're doing a Rent-A-Server service.
Okay. Confirmed,
and then, yeah, and it's just, I think the article I read said, like, it's not coming out day one or something, but there is a official Rent-A-Server service from DICE EA for Battlefield 2042. And then you couple that with Portal. You just kind of think about the implied combination of those two. That is like games like Rust come to mind, where it's just like a sandbox world where it's like an FPS, you build things up, people can raid you or whatever, but all of it's custom servers.
Yeah.
When you turn that game on, it's just the whole community is hosting the whole game. Like if the official servers went down, I don't think anyone would give a fuck.
And by the way, children, that's how all online games were back in the day. It was all.
It's how they're
private
slowly
servers.
becoming again, though, is my point. Like,
Uh-huh.
Rust was kind of unique, but look what we're talking about now. Battlefield 2042 is already saying that they're going to launch a server, a purchasable server service.
Mm.
So it's like,
Well, speaking of anti-cheat measures, Broadcaster Nickels, will this game have real anti-cheat? Because
No.
the proliferating question of this age in FPS is anti-cheat. None of them have it. They're all suffering from hysterical levels of hacking and cheating. No one is falling for it anymore. Like, the secret's out. And the cheating's getting worse, not better. Eventually, if this genre is going to survive, one of these companies is going to have to do something about cheating. You don't think that these are going to be the ones that do it? Battlefield 2042 ain't going to be it?
well, yes and no. We know that 2042 is not doing anything in the traditional sense of anti-cheat. They're not like they're definitely not launching or even going to be on the 3-month mark, having come out with some type of revolutionary software anti-cheat. But yes, in the way, like I just said, private servers. There, if you really think about a day one solution right now to this problem, it's private servers and making them proliferated, like having the back of the developers, like, listen, host your own servers. We'll put them out for free for the time being. We'll give you free moderation dev equipment, to moderate the servers effectively. And that would have, like, a game like Warzone would have people fucking flocking back to it. Like, you have pro streamers like Aiden and Z-Laner and Dr. Disrespect, all those big names where they all fight with hack accusations and fighting hackers themselves. If that happened in Warzone, everything would disappear in a night. All of a sudden, these streamers would have to put up or shut up. Like, accusation, come over to my fucking server. Let me see you put those numbers up while I'm monitoring you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, type of shit. All that shit would disappear. Hackers moderate till it's not fun. Because the reason all these hackers are doing it, like you said, it's just hysterical levels of hacking because it's the Wild West. No one's doing anything.
No. It's so bad in Warzone now that I did a game of Plunder the other night, and I was killed by cheaters like 18 times in one single Plunder match. And these are like, it's not even like suspicious. It's just like, oh, that's an aimbot. You can tell. Like, you can just tell that these people are obviously cheating. There's no shame. It's mainstream. It's not just like one person per lobby or 2 people per lobby like it used to be. I believe that we're now seeing 20 plus hackers / cheaters in every lobby of Warzone, at least.
No doubt. No doubt. I mean, I was just playing Hunt Showdown today with a friend, and we didn't lose to him. It wasn't one of those situations where we just got smoked and we were trash and we're just like, oh, they're hacking. That's the only way we died. We didn't die from them. If you play Hunt, we went up to one of the areas, like there's on the map, there's like little towns and fisheries and butchers and stuff like that you go to. They're like focal points of the map. We get into this section of the map, and all of a sudden I get like a little, just like a ding in the wood right past me. And once you know the game enough, you realize what guns are being fired, yada, yada. But nonetheless, where that gun was shot from was like 90 meters to 100 meters away plus, and it was like a super weak pistol shot, right? And I was like, oh, that's really weird. Why would someone expose themselves like that for a shot that like has no chance of hitting me? And even if it did, even if it hit me in the fucking head, it wouldn't be a kill shot. Like if you when you know the game that much, you just know that. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So me and my buddy just kept going up, and then we confront these two, and at every step of the way, they like knew where we were at. We didn't start fighting at them. We were sneaking into the compound, and we weren't giving ourselves away. But like every time I went to go peek out of somewhere, they would just be looking through a window like right at me. And I told my buddy, I was like, man, this is super sus. They like know where we're at 24/7. So I told him to run away. I was like, just run away out of the compound. And I followed behind him. And they started shooting at us from like 150 meter, 200 meter, just impossible shots. They didn't have like long rifles with scopes.
Yeah, this is Hunt Showdown. Like, we're talking about like 1800s weapons.
Right. And the hit pattern on these guns are not good, even at a reasonable distance. So it's just like, I was like, I think these guys are just mocking us right now. I think they're literally cheating. And they're just like, because they're not pursuing us. You know, I got the impression they could have just smoked us at any time, but they were like toying with rats in a cage. And I was like, I got a bad feeling about this, dude. Let's just leave. And we went over the next one. We ended up winning the match. But it was just like, well, winning a match in Hunt Showdown isn't necessarily killing everybody on the server, but you escaped with a bounty or whatever. Nonetheless, it was just, I thought about it. I was like, dude, that was a really weird encounter, you know, and it's Hunt Showdown. And I'm thinking, I'm questioning if I ran into cheaters. Hunt Showdown, not exactly the most popular fucking game in the world, you know? It's like,
a big deal.
Who cheats?
Cheating in FPS is really bad right now, like incredibly bad. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are flocking towards MMOs again. I don't know if you've noticed, but MMOs have kind of had a resurgence in popularity. And I think the reason for that is because it's a lot harder to cheat in MMOs. I think people are just sick of cheaters.
I mean, no one wants to be part of a system where you actively know. It'd be like if you lived in a world where you couldn't get results working out without taking steroids, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If you just went to the gym knowing you're just like it's physically impossible for a human to have muscle gain without cheating. I need these steroids, you know? Like, that's how it feels to play video games now. You run into cheaters so much, you're just like, I'm not even playing the same game. Like, I'm just like, I have no chance. Like, with the amount of suspicious activity that happens, not in one game, not two games, but seems like almost all games now, if it's a competitive game, that is. Like, yeah. I mean, I remember when I went back to Master Chief Collection, I was like, oh, Halo Infinite's coming out. I'm going to go back in Master Chief Collection and play some Reach. I'm going to get some muscle memory built back up. And I start looking up metas. And the first thing that pops up when you look up news and metas and Halo and stuff is people complaining about cheaters and how bad aim assist is on controller. And when you know aim assist on a controller is really bad on a PC game, you know it's an exploitation for cheating.
Mm-hmm.
You just know it is. It's like you're not talking about just people that use the aim assist for what it is. You just know because the aim assist is that good and it's accessible like that on a specific piece of equipment hooking up to or interfacing with the game, you just like modern day cheats just take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, now that I know aim assist is there for controllers, I know people are hacking. I know that is a venue to get hacks in.
Yeah, very first game I went back to Halo Master Chief Collection recently, like a month ago. The first thing I did was install Halo 2. Very first match. Just fucking obvious cheater right off the bat. Very first match back in. I'm just like, wow. There's no escape. I was just coming off a Warzone which was infested with cheaters right before I installed Halo 2. It's just like, there's no way. Right now, in the year 2021, if you want to play a competitive FPS and not worry about cheaters, you have to do it on a LAN. Like, that's basically what you have to do.
That's also why, you don't see a lot of, these you realize that streamers aren't necessarily pro gamers. That's something I've learned in like the past couple of weeks, especially with like the lockdown, like post lockdowns and all that stuff. You kind of got in your head that a lot of these really big name streamers were like the pro gamers of that scene when like tournaments were still being done and stuff like that. That's not necessarily the case. And also, going further, you realize that a lot of these pro gamers that actually were in the circuit, you know, where they actually had to show up to buildings that didn't have their computers in them, and they had to put up their skill on a clean slate where people can argue. Those people don't actually like streamers. A lot of those people actually are suspicious of big name streamers, you know? And it's like, okay, so the people that actually undoubtedly are the best of the best even think these streamers are sus. You know?
Oh, they know the best that they're sus because they're actually good. They're what they're pretending to be. So they can see through what their phony bullshit. Let me explain to you why I'm so good. It's not because of hacks, it's because you're bad and your bad brain isn't able to comprehend the awesomeness of what I'm doing. That's basically every streamer's defense against cheating.
I honestly think that's why Dr. Disrespect is one of the biggest gaming streamers to this day. Because if you really think about age demographic of streamers and stuff like that, Dr. Disrespect is kind of out of that window, but he's still up there. He's still huge. And I think it's, you know, he's famous for it. He gets so fucking angry and he complains all the time. But I think the fact that he does that is this cue to real people out there. He's like, oh, he bitches just like us because he's not cheating.
Mm-hmm.
He suffers just like, you can tell he's suffering just like us because he's not fucking cheating. He's running into these people and he realizes it. But then again, he streams with people like Z-Laner that I know fucking cheat.
Yeah, I was about to say he has known accomplices that are 100% cheaters.
I know. It's one of those things where it's just like, Doc, the fact that you do that makes people think you cheat. And it makes me kind of think you cheat sometimes. But it's just like maybe you just suck so bad. I don't know. You know, you can go down a rabbit hole forever, but...
Yep. Well, getting back to 2042, I do like the futuristic city level. Like they kind of show like 5 different levels. There's like a snow level, a jungle level, and then there's this futuristic Blade Runner city. I really like that city. I kind of wish that Cyberpunk, like the city in Cyberpunk, looked like that. That's kind of what I thought it was going to look like.
Yeah, well, I bet a lot of people wish Cyberpunk did a lot of things, but
well, is there going to be a campaign, or is this going to be a no campaign game like Black Ops 4?
You're talking about Cyberpunk?
Too soon, Broadcaster Nickels. Too soon.
No, there is no campaign in 2042. It's a purely online multiplayer game.
I think that basically guarantees the need for a BR. I don't think you can release a multiplayer only FPS without a BR variant at this point.
You'd have to be like, the only other thing that is plausible in my head is that there's so much collusion going on in the gaming industry that the people that have stock and interests in all these companies don't actually want a studio like Bungie or DICE to actually release a BR right now because Warzone is a cash cow and they don't want direct competition. So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, if Bungie, if the Halo Infinite and DICE with 2042 and the neck, like no more than 3 months after launch, don't announce or have a BR on the ground, then I will immediately think collusion. Because there's no other fucking reason. There's no other reason. There's no way that you can convince me like, well, we didn't want to compete with Warzone because we just couldn't possibly come up with a better idea. My aching ass. Okay? People, they fucking scraped the cadaver of Titanfall 2 to make Apex Legends, okay? And look how much fucking buco bucks that's coming in, all right? Don't tell me that you guys didn't have the wild hair up your ass to try a BR.
Yeah, I see the BR genre being on the cusp of being basically the MOBA genre from like 2010. The collapse that happened where there was just shit tons of MOBA ripoffs, League of Legends ripoffs, and then they just kind of vanished and they don't make them anymore. I feel like we're on the cusp of that happening with Battle Royales because Warzone is basically the League of Legends of Battle Royale at this point. And if you make a better one, really what you're saying is you're making one that isn't cheatable. Because you're not really going to have ability to make a better battle royale, like engine wise, gameplay wise, like just overall how cooked up in the oven it is, like how baked up it is. Warzone has a lot of polish in that way, but it has this huge Achilles heel in that, well, there's two. First of all, highly microtransactioned, highly predatory system of progression, but then the other one, the cheating. I don't think that a new battle royale without really good anti-cheat is going to go anywhere, no matter how good it is. And that might lead to the crash I'm talking about, where no one wants to make any more battle royales because they're just like, well, we can't deal with the cheaters.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying, but I'll just go back to private servers.
That doesn't
really
work for a battle royale, though.
Totally does. A Rust is a battle royale, and that's exactly how that's what it is.
You're giving Rust a lot of
what do you mean? You start out as, every time you get on the server, you start out as a nobody with nothing. You collect resources and weapons to have a better chance at fighting at other people and taking their shit. I mean, it's a little bit more of an elaborated, but on its base level,
it's more like Fallout. I mean, it's kind of.
I mean, not really, because there's no NPCs with story dialogue or anything. It's pure PvP.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the new Fallout. Like, not the older ones that were good. I'm talking about like the brand new one that sucked ass. That's sort of what Rust was like.
Kind of, but not really. Like, Fallout Online was literally like Fallout 3 through 4, but an online version where they're like trying to get you to play with two other people through like an actual story-driven online persistent world, more akin to like an MMO.
Yeah, I've heard the story is paper thin.
But with like Rust is more akin to a BR than Fallout is to Rust, I would say. Like, most definitely. Like, BR as a concept is very related to Rust.
All right. Well, you've heard it here first. Broadcaster Nickels believes.
I mean,
I'd say
a lot of
believes
people
in it.
I mean, when you really think about it, it's like it's the only actual trump card that will work. When you allow people that don't want cheats to have a server, people will come. I mean, that's just...
Well, I mean, you can make that argument sort of for all online gaming, period, and I kind of agree with you, but
Well, sure, but it's such a rarity is what I'm saying. A company allowing... Yeah. They are, but I mean, they require money.
They're not conducive to large environments of diverse player bases and fast queues, so it's sort of like...
that's a Rust.
Yeah.
Well, I use Rust as an example. It's a really old game. It's huge. It fucking has a huge streaming content creator, community. And again, they survive off private servers essentially.
Yeah. Well, speaking of survival, it seems like Battlefield learned its lesson. There's no purple mohawk wheelchair ladies on the cover of 2042, so maybe
we'll see.
Maybe they figured it
Reverse
out.
lithograph coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, now that I've said that, like, as soon as you turn the game on, there'll be like a 20-minute Al Gore fucking lecture on global climate change. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, are you ready to get to our review of Black Widow?
Yes, comrade.
And we're back with our review of Kate Shortland's Black Widow. And the creator of this movie describes it as the following: Natasha Romanoff confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Broadcaster Nickels.
Yes.
Does that hypnosis not feel a little divorced from the reality of this movie? Like, does that like strike you as what you watched on the screen?
No.
What a bullshit hypnosis, man. Like this. The darker parts of her ledger. Get the fuck out of here.
This is it was the worst part of her story ever. Where was the black spandex suit, for one? All right. Come on, guys. We all know what we're coming to the theater for, all right? 2, she didn't start beating any ass for like 45 minutes, it felt like.
Yeah, the first 20 minutes of this movie was like a huge ripoff of FX's The Americans. A wonderful little show about Soviet-era spies living in America with a fake family and a fake life.
Yeah.
I could not help but be disheartened by just the overt, obvious, blatant stealing of that show's premise to fit into Black Widow, to like give her like subtext and give her like weight behind her characters. I was just shaking my head the entire time I was watching that intro. What about you?
I was shaking my head the entire fucking movie, to be honest.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot to shake our heads at here, but
everything was like rather predictable, cringy, or just a damn shame. Like Red Guardian by Dave fucking commie bastard, whatever his name is. I don't know.
They played him like off as like a Spaceballs character.
Yeah, dude, the disrespect. And then Scarlett Johansson kind of like taking a back seat to like have like this nutty professor type family fucking of misfits, you know? Like that's what it kind of felt like to me.
Yeah.
And she's sitting around the table. I'm like, what is this? Like,
yeah. And
no one cares.
If you recall when we previewed this gem of a movie back like last year, did we preview this like in summer 2020?
This movie gave me the same feeling Winter Soldier and the Falcon gave me. Or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Just like
exactly.
It's like, who watches this? It's just lame.
If you recall when we previewed this, we discussed the very conspicuous age discrepancy between Scarlett Johansson and her mom, which they look like they're about 5 years separated. Maybe 7.
I think they're quite a bit. I think, what's her name? That's the chick from The Mummy, right?
Yeah, it is.
Brendan Fraser was dicking that down for a while, I'm pretty sure. Wait, she's a little bit older than Scarlett. She's like 10 years at least, right?
I don't think so. I don't know for sure. But either way, in the context of this movie, when you look at them side by side, they look like they could have gone to high school together. They look like she could have been a senior and Scarlett Johansson could have been a freshman at the same high school.
All you're saying is that fucking what's her name from The Mummy is aging good.
Oh, she is.
Because I was like, what, 13 or something when the original Mummy came out? And I'm the same age.
I think you were like 10.
Okay, that's still 10 years, and she was like at least in her 20s in that movie. And Scarlett Johansson,
she was young. She was in her early 20s in that movie.
I'm just saying Scarlett Johansson's my age, so I'd be like, she's at least 10 years older than Scarlett, I'd say.
Are you sure about that?
Positive.
You're telling me I'm older than Scarlett Johansson?
Look into it, dude.
Hollywood ages you, man. That's crazy. That's true. I can't believe that. But either way, like I'm looking for immersion, even if the real life numbers are different. Whatever. All I'm saying is that when I look at those two next to each other on a dinner table, there ain't no way in hell you're convincing me that she is Scarlett Johansson's mom. Not a chance in hell. Period.
You don't think so?
No, dude, they look so much the same age, man. Like,
I mean, I get where you're coming from. She's definitely young looking for her age, but my mind just knows how old that actress is. So I just like, I don't like have that hard time believing just because I know that she is considerably older. Rachel Weisz is her name. and she was born in 1970. And Scarlett Johansson was born in 84. So 14 years.
She's the same age. Wait difference. A second. You're telling me the chick from The Mummy was born in 1970? Like,
yeah, dude.
7-0?
Rachel Weisz, dude. London,
UK.
Oh
my gosh. She is aging like an Egyptian goddess. Good for her.
I've been saying this
Good for her.
You're not listening to me, bro.
Well, all I'm telling you, for immersion-wise, it doesn't fit for me, but that's crazy that in real life it is a good match, but in the context of a movie, you look at them, you're just like, no, like they could be going to the same orgy together.
I'd allow it. I allow it on my private server. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, beyond that, like, I think Scarlett Johansson totally phoned it in. In fact, I'm going to say, what's her name? Weiss? What's her first name?
Rachel.
Rachel Weisz was the best actor in this movie. Do you agree?
I'm trying to really scrape the brain here because
it's either her or William Hurt, the villain.
Yeah, that's true. That. Yeah, she probably takes the trophy home.
Yeah, the Red Guardian or whatever. He did a great job playing a fool, but that's not what this movie was supposed to be. So it's sort of like a weird red herring.
It's because he's commie scum at heart, so he's right at home.
Scarlett Johansson definitely phoned this in, though. I've seen that woman do some real serious acting. This ain't it. You can tell that she was just like done with this shit when she was filming it.
I think Scarlett and what's his name? Jeremy Renner. I think even Chris Evans and RDJ, all of them. I think all the old guard, even Mark Ruffalo, but he stays out of the limelight so much, and he's kind of an SJW. But even then, I don't get the impression that any of them want to be part of the MCU anymore. I think it's a mix because you see like the new phase coming in, and like literally instead of like the old guard phasing in slowly and authentically in the new guard, they're not doing that at all. In fact, they're like ripping off the Band-Aid in some cases, and it's just like
in the case of this movie, which ends up being just an excuse to set up Scarlett Johansson's replacement. That's what this movie ends up being.
Yes, it does.
That is interesting. Like, it kind of makes you think, oh, well, no wonder Scarlett Johansson is filing a lawsuit against Disney right now, because she knew this was her last movie. She probably negotiated a very strict, very specific contract because she knew it was her last movie with them, and now they're using COVID to fucking try and screw her over. And did you see their statement, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Scarlett Johansson is so insensitive to all the lives lost from the ongoing COVID pandemic. I'm just
That's
like,
corpo talk for we God. Proudly stand on the bodies of the dead to make sure we save money.
Dude, I don't know how the fuck Disney thinks they come off looking good from that, but it is like,
dude, even what's his name? The head Feige. He even came out in defense of Scarlett.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I don't agree with the way Disney responded to Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit, or some real vanilla take, but at the end of the day, you could tell where his mind was at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting because a bunch of actors are doing this. It's not just her, like this whole HBO Max and Disney Plus thing. Gerard Butler is also suing because they're doing the same thing to his movie that they just did to Scarlett Johansson's movie. They're doing it direct to HBO Max, and he's pissed about it. So we're going to see a lot of these lawsuits. It's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds, like if it's just going to be swept under the rug, or if we're going to get like some actual true change out of Hollywood.
Well, I think a new bird's going to be birthed from the ashes of Hollywood, to be honest, and I think it's going to be China Hollywood.
I think current Hollywood is China Hollywood, man. I don't know.
No, I mean branded China Hollywood.
Oh.
Like, I have no doubt. I mean,
John
That's some
Cena
shit
will be their
changes.
first American actor.
Yeah,
John
that's some
Cena,
shit
you
changes.
good man, you come here.
But we're living in the day and age where like we're kind of slow. Like India's still in like cheesy Bollywood phase, but their CGI and stuff gets better and better every day. You know, and China is kind of past the days of not being able to make anything even close to Hollywood, American Hollywood quality. Now they're kind of, you know, kind of making Hollywood quality movies, and not most importantly, they're getting old Hollywood actors to come act in them as well. And it's been slowly happening for some decades now. It started with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you know now you're seeing it with John Cena and stuff. They've always had this idea that of simulating or replicating the American Hollywood movie style. And I mean, essentially my point being is everyone's been copying American Hollywood for some time now. And we're slowly getting to that age where like Hollywood is not only going to start having financial and actual creative competition, but they're also being incompetent in this day and age. Like with just everything that's happening with Hollywood, I can't imagine a future where Hollywood rather dies or just becomes irrelevant compared to a global box office movies. It's slowly happening. More and more indie festivals become bigger. More and more people talk about foreign films now. Like even when I was growing up as a kid, like I remember talking to people about I think it's John Woo Park or something. I forget his name, but he makes Old Boy. You know, the famous Korean film, and he does a couple other films too. But I remember watching those when I was, you know, in my later teenage years or young 20s, I think, early 20s. But that stuff's just gotten bigger and bigger. You know, like kids younger than me are getting into stuff like that now. Like they talk about it more online. There's just like there's Facebook pages essentially was what I'm talking. You know, there's just like social media groups that talk about these things that we never had. So it's just it naturally has become a bigger thing. And Hollywood, I just think is in its death throes, and all these things I just talk about are going to just naturally fill the gap, fill the void.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, this movie ain't going to be restoring anyone's confidence in Hollywood because it felt low budget. It feels like they put all the money into like the contracts with Scarlett Johansson and David Harbour, and like they just totally phoned in everything else. When you look at the CG effects in this movie, they look quantifiably worse than season 4 of The Expanse. We're talking about low budget television shows.
Oh, dude, it was really bad, especially the wire work. There was a couple moments where people were getting pulled back from explosions. I was like, first of all, if you're gonna give a lady shoulder pads and her fucking white skin tight leather jacket or whatever the hell that is, like at least do proper wire work, because they literally pulled up on her shoulder pads. You could noticeably see her jacket getting pulled up in one of the explosions.
Yep. Yeah, and there were some really obvious green screens too. I don't know if you saw any of those.
The explosion green screens were really bad.
They were
really
like
bad.
This is not a. Let's just put it this way: The Mandalorian makes this look like a sci-fi Saturday morning special on the Sci-Fi Channel.
It does
in comparison. Like,
it does.
And this is a TV.
Mandalorian's
a TV show. It's not a movie. It's not a high budget Marvel movie. Like, they phoned it in every aspect with this movie. Like, this movie. I can tell why they didn't want to release it.
Well, dude, this is terrible. It just goes. I'll tell you, it's an indictment on the future of the MCU.
Fuck
and
yeah, it is.
What's in store as far as creativity goes.
We're supposed to get all psyched up because of the post-credit scenes with Elaine from Seinfeld being like, "Hey, I'm the wily old woman, and you're gonna go kill the killer of your sister."
Dude, China doesn't even want Shang-Chi, our Eternal. which both have Asian actors. One's about like an Asian superhero that's being played by, I think, a Chinese national.
Dude, that movie's gonna bomb so bad. And
they don't even want it in their fucking country, though.
Dude, it's gonna bomb so bad, and they're gonna blame it on racist white Americans. Just watch, like they're gonna be like, "Why Shang-Chi was ruined by people in Mississippi not accepting vaccines."
Translation: why a D-grade comic book character no one gives a fuck about failed in his first live-action movie.
I mean, there's the logical, reasonable assertion, but that's not what we live in. That's not where we exist now in 2021.
It's like they're trying to like pull Blade energy with Shang-Chi. I'm
right.
sorry, like it's not gonna happen. Like no one knew what Blade was or anything, you know? It's like, yeah, but it was Wesley fucking Snipes and it was fucking cool. Okay.
You had Steven Dorff smoking an e-cigarette before they existed.
Fucking hey, dude. Did you see the motorcycle beach scene with the vampires? Are you kidding me, dude?
God, man. The original Blade is an underrated movie. People don't understand how awesome that movie is.
Dude, when that guy gets lopped in half at the end, the CGI of the blood, like, things like come back together.
Dude, just the opening scene of Blade is cooler than the entire fucking last 3 MCU movies I've seen.
Yeah, dude. Everything about Blade was... They remember, dude, Darude Sandstorm was in fucking...
Do you remember the opening scene?
Yeah, the club scene. That's what I'm talking about,
where the sprinkler goes off and it just starts raining blood.
Dude, the song in that scene that the club's playing is one of the most iconic fucking electronic dance music.
Oh yeah,
ever.
For sure.
Like ever.
Yeah, for sure. God.
Also, what's his name? The guy, the vampire gets his hand cut off. Forget the actor's name. Legendary dude though.
Oh man, those were better times.
Yeah.
I wish I just watched a Blade movie of that caliber, but no. Instead, I watched basically the rape of Scarlett Johansson. Like that's what this movie really feels like. They just raped her out of the MCU. It's so bad, man.
It's gonna come back. I got this gut feeling, right? That we're just like right at the cusp of the pendulum swinging on a lot of things, right? It's just gonna start swinging the other way here soon, and I think one of the I can't wait to see it, but I think it's gonna go down like this: Marvel MCU movies are an all-time low viewership, sales, blah blah blah. DC is on the up and up, right? And then MCU, to do a retaliation, tries to do like a big cash grab recontract with all the original actors like RDJ, Chris Evans, get as many of them as they can, right? And then they come back, and then the MCU, Disney, Marvel has their Justice League moment. And it's just terrible because all the talent's gone. Feige won't be there for it, you know, something like that of that magnitude. I feel is on the horizon. Mark my words.
Yeah. Well, if you look at what's happening at Lucasfilm right now, it kind of feels like it's possible that could end up spreading to Marvel eventually. Because
that would be the best of outcomes.
it does really at this point feel like it is true what's happening at Lucasfilm, and that the Kathleen Kennedy version of Lucasfilm has been defeated in the Civil War, and that essentially it's Filoni and fucking Favreau in charge now. And those are 2 men that you want in charge because they make good shit, and you hope that kind of spreads across the Disney apparatus. But, you know, we'll see if they're in time to save my beloved X-Men, because every day I wake up thinking, are they going to turn Gambit into like a woke beta male who's like going to women, be like, hey, mon chéri, can I give you a foot rub? You feel real stressed. Would you like to fuck a black man in front of me? I'll just watch and be here to support you.
Gambit's not even not even an option anymore. Because 1, he's a womanizer as a character. 2, he's a cis white male French man, and just recently appropriating French culture is bad.
Oh god.
So like, or he's French Cajun Creole, whatever you want to say, but nonetheless the roots of it and stuff like that, I feel like his catchphrases and stuff like that. They won't. It just like none of his characters allowed.
Nope.
Like not a part of it. The only what was the other character you brought up before Gambit? Oh no, I was when you said X-Men, I thought Wolverine, and it made me think someone on a comment board was just like, "Just you guys wait, they're gonna cast Michael Cera as Wolverine," and I died. I fucking died.
God damn it. The man's probably right, but hopefully
I can already see the GQ article. Watch Michael Cera's jacked workout routine to prepare for the Wolverine role. Something like that, dude. I can already see it. Michael Cera clearly on SARMs or some shit like that. Some really unhealthy fucking HGH or some steroid. And they're like, he eats chicken and rice 3-4 times a day, 7 times a week. And he's just like you guys. Anybody can do it.
Oh, man. This movie felt like it had multiple directors. It didn't feel like it had one vision. It felt like 3 guys took turns directing, if I had to be honest. It was convoluted. It was disjointed. The movie didn't feel like it was cohesive in any way. It just felt like weird little vignettes that kind of stood by themselves, but then like, oh no, that led to this, which really has nothing of the same energy or flow or logical reasoning or anything. Like it just, the movie felt strung together on a very rickety string.
It definitely was. There's no doubt about it. Those scenes were cut and pasted together the best they could have been. To say, like, you could tell a lot. Just you said it in the earlier, the look on Scarlett Johansson's face, just like, I don't want to do this. And also, we might be mistaking that type of energy for all of them not actually being with each other because of COVID and whatnot. It made them shoot scenes separated from each other and, green screen or CGI'd in or stunt doubled in or whatever it had to be,
Yeah.
Like that screws with acting energy, especially with a big name like Scarlett Johansson. Her last movie, they're just like, wow, this movie's just gonna suck. I know it's gonna suck just based on everything that's happening. It's like a snowball if it's very perpetual.
Yeah. Oof.
I felt it. Like all those scenes were just. I don't know.
What about the scenes where like Black Widow was like dropping to the ground with her like little signature like splits sexy woman landing thing, and then like her sister made fun of her for it? Was that not just like super cringe?
Of course it was. All that deconstruction shit is super cringe.
Dude,
it's like let's deconstruct the tropes we used less than fucking 8 years ago.
It makes no sense.
Dumbass fuckers.
I feel like people took the success of Deadpool a little in the wrong direction. Like it feels like all these Marvel, not even just Marvel though. I feel like all comic book or like you just look at the Netflix comic book stuff with like Dark Horse Comics and shit too. Like they all sort of have decided, oh, Deadpool has made it clear that people like breaking the fourth wall, so we're going to make fun of ourselves and we're just going to sort of casually break the fourth wall all the time. It's like, people like Deadpool doing that because it's what Deadpool does.
Well, it's also
they don't want Batman breaking the fourth wall. They don't want fucking Wolverine breaking the fourth wall. Like, it's stupid the way we're like, they're taking this and just applying it to everything in a weird blanket fashion. It's like, no, that's not what people want.
Right. Well, it's just like Deadpool is actually like predictably like you in a way, the reader. Like that's why the fourth wall breaking is clever and good. And like I think why he became so popular is because when you read stuff like that, you're just like, oh, this is so stupid. Why don't you just fucking like shock him and his whole suit would fucking disable and he would have drowned in the fucking ocean. You could have ended it on page 3 type of thing, Like that's what your mind's saying. That's what Deadpool does. That's like literally what Deadpool does. It'll like someone has like some type of regeneration power, he just uses that against him in like 1 page and he's like, that was dumb. That's why his comedy works. with the way they try to do it in serious ways, like in Black Widow, where they're just like, the splits thing you do is really dumb, and it's just like what men want you to do type. You're only doing it for like, a certain viewer, essentially. It's just, that's not funny. And you're also attacking a viewer base.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact opposite, essentially.
It is. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, what did you think about the spirited prison break of dear old dad?
I think that was actually one of the cooler parts. I thought the whole tattoo scene was really dumb. It's like, so, guys, you're just gonna get a tattoo on your back while you're gonna fucking an arm wrestling match? It's like to see the tattoo.
Yeah.
Really like a peek at that fucking tattoo. But I don't know. There's a lot as far as like.
Did it not remind you a little bit? Like, you already drew a comparison between this movie and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and oh boy, did this not remind me of the Nero prison break in the aforementioned Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Same energy.
Well, you mean Zemo?
Yes.
I think Zemo Break, even though that series sucked, was way better.
It was. But this seemed like it was straight up like the same. Like, it's almost like they're just like, well, let's repurpose this from the show we just made and kind of apply it to our movie in a different way. Oh, that's cool. People like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's literally no one's home at these places. I keep saying this over and over. It's just like, it's what you get. That's why you like it. No one's home. No one's making anything. The creativity people are gone with their bags of fucking money. You got the new guard that weren't trained. They weren't given the manuals. They literally were just like, they're like, your manager today, kid. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that's the people that are making all this shit.
Yeah.
They're just like, so they make those things. They're like, oh yeah, we'll take that idea from that movie. Yeah. We'll change it up a little bit. Yeah, we'll do that.
These Marvel movies are becoming dangerously close to just like AI auto generated scripts. You know what I mean? Like, they're so predictable. They're so like just paint by the numbers, fucking just cliche. Pretty soon they're going to have AIs just churning the shit out, just like Black Widow. Like, you could literally see a computer algorithm generating the Black Widow script tomorrow. I would believe it if you told me someone tomorrow generated that script. It's just like, oh, this happens in comic book movies. Okay. Oh, comic book movies need origin. Okay, here's that. Oh, searching for origin. The Americans found conscript. You know what I mean? Like, it's so bad at this point. There is the lack of originality. When you first watched Iron Man, the original Iron Man that literally kickstarted this new version of Marvel movies, it was so special. It was so different. When you were watching it, you felt like you were watching something just like handcrafted and unique and like had heart in it. And then you compare it to a movie like Black Widow, it is the literal fleshy plastic opposite of that. Just like a glossy piece of shit.
It is the antithesis. I mean, what first era of Marvel to modern day MCU? It's just like the opposite of each other. It just no soul left, no good acting left, no good directors left. It seems like it's just a billboard for advertisements now.
Yep.
People's agendas and people's ideologies and all that stuff, i.e. the split comment, like that's where they choose to break the fourth wall. To make a comment on fucking a character who's famously agile and hot and wears suggestive clothing in their original form. Now you're deconstructing that in their movie. Cool.
Not only deconstructing it, but then like the little sister who, by the way, is cast to basically replace her. Like, this whole exercise is just, we want you to accept this new hot woman to replace our old hot woman. She does the same thing later in the movie and then like gets up and she's like, so stupid or whatever, like as she walks away, and I'm just like, bitch, you just did it. What do you mean? Like, why'd you do it then? It's just the whole point, spoiler alert, why she did it. It's because she's hanging a lantern on the moment. She's saying, oh, that's for old women, old school women that weren't woke enough and they didn't understand the plight of woman as well as I do. I'm the new, more powerful woman that's truly multicultural, and I am BIPOC, and I am an ally, and like you could just tell that they're just setting her up to be like a more woke version of Black Widow, and more, sassy, because that's like another meme with today's women. Like, they're all sassy. There's no non-sassy women anymore. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but like 99% of female characters now are sassy.
Of course. It's women empowerment. You have to have a strong female. You can't dare have a soft female that's caring and wants to, nurture in any way, or stay at home in any way, or have, attributes like cooking or something feminine, I don't know.
Yeah.
Here we go. Canceled.
All right, Broadcaster Nickels. As you know, here at the end of our reviews, we often talk about hits, misses, and whiffs of all kinds. Now, in this particular instance, here today, we have failed because there are very few hits to talk about, but I'm going to have to ask you anyway, what is your hit?
Undoubtedly, without question, Scarlett Johansson. Call me baby.
Visually.
Excuse me? You ever talk about my future ex-wife that way again?
Anything specific about Scarlett Johansson you'd like to point out? Maybe her flush cheeks.
Yeah, what would you like me to point out specifically? I mean, honestly, she's one of the only good actors in the movie. Besides Dreyfus.
What about the dead
end?
daughter who was the fucking villain that never said a word or made any facial expressions?
Crazy eyes?
Crazy eye killer.
Yeah, I called it crazy eyes. I'll be honest, I'm glad you brought that scene up, because that was my favorite scene of the movie, just because I honestly was perplexed. That was the part of the movie where it was supposed to be like that full circle revelation thing, and I was like, who is that? And I legitimately, I was like, I don't remember her at all. Did she get killed in a movie? Or are we just supposed to know who she is from background talk? I was seriously confused.
We're just supposed to believe that Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow is just so moral and so good that she murdered this chick, or so she thought, and then she was just cool with it, and that and then there's so much gravity, and she regrets it so much, and now she's gonna save her. I won't let you go, B.
But yeah, she's the whole scene was hilarious because her fucking costume makeup was ridiculous. The fact that they gender bent fucking Taskmaster but used a male physique, dude, that chick's head was Tony Starked onto like a fucking Iron Man body type shit. That was not her body, dude.
For sure.
She had fucking huge biceps, dude.
Yeah,
I was just dying that whole scene because of her face, but
it reminded me of Mass Effect Andromeda.
It totally did, dude.
This is the Mass Effect Andromeda of movies.
You're familiar with Taskmaster, aren't you?
A little bit.
You know what he looks like from the comics.
Yes.
They did him so dirty.
Oh, dude!
They did him so dirty.
Why do you think I'm so frightened for Gambit, man? We're going into this I feel like any moment someone's gonna call me and be like, "If you want Gambit to live, insert 85 bitcoins into my wallet by this time, or we're gonna make transgender."
Can we just take a moment of a primitive strike, if you will, a preemptive strike, sorry, and just give a moment for Jeremy Renner and the new Hawkeye series is coming up, because we all know what's about to happen in that series. That's gonna be the most brutal, how they say, passing of the torch you're probably are ever gonna see in your life. Every step of the way, it's gonna be an apology tour for Jeremy Renner and for forget that character's name.
They're going to write in a scene with Jeremy Renner getting a vaccination.
I like it. I like that energy.
They're going to, man. And he's going to like turn towards the camera and smile. Like,
that's the too big to succeed type of energy I like to hear.
Oh God.
Can you imagine being in the room just a sec? Would you just imagine being in the room of that type of idea leaving someone's mouth? You're in the think tank room, right? You're like, all right, how do we want to open up first episode of Hawkeye? Ooh, let's get an apology tour wrapping up for Jeremy Renner, right? He's apologizing for his Ronin activities or something like that, right? He's like, I'll never kill again, da-da-da-da-da. And then he gets off the stage and he notices some girl that's eyeing him. And now the audience is going to be like, oh my God, is Jeremy Renner going to screw an attractive young lady in this movie? But then it's going to be like a gotcha. No, she's replacing him. And everyone's going to be like, yes, awesome,
yes, queen.
And then like right after that, he goes and gets his vax shot. Everyone's just like, yeah. Yeah.
3 years later, you see him in a wheelchair. His arm moves sideways, but not vertical.
Remember when I was Hawkeye kid?
Eric Clapton's doing a duet with him. It's not good.
Based Eric Clapton, rest in power.
He's rest in power soon. Ain't gonna let that guy live much longer.
Nope.
That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, my hit. It took a lot of soul searching to find a hit in this movie, but I found it. And I found it in the end credits, Broadcaster Nickels. Did you watch the end credits?
Yeah. That was the one with Dreyfus.
No. The actual credits, not the post-credit scene. The credits themselves.
No, I skip right past this shit.
Bro. Dude, they were playing some epic music in these credits, dude. Like, it was so crazy. Like, I just got done watching one of the worst movies I've seen in years. And I'm just rolling my eyes, and all of a sudden, like, powerful orchestral Christopher Nolan Inception music starts blasting through my fucking audio system. And I'm like, what? Did I just time warp into a different reality where I watched a good movie? No, they just put really awesome music in the credits. I encourage you to go back and listen to it. You're just going to be like, how do they get off putting music this awesome in a movie this bad in the credits? Like, what just happened?
I mean, half the reason Godzilla 2000 was good was that banging soundtrack.
True. But like, I'm just like sitting here like looking, I'm like, did Christopher Nolan just direct the credits of this movie? Like, guest directing the credit sequence, Christopher Nolan. Like, what is going on here? Like, there is no music like that in the entire movie. And then, like, all of a sudden you get to the credits, it's just like, boom, 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 boom. Like, just like crazy orchestral shit that didn't match anything that you just watched. And, I gotta give credit where credit's due. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, what is your miss?
The miss would probably be no full frontal, no nude, no sex scenes.
Did you actually expect a real movie?
No, I think the miss honestly would be the use of communism and all that stuff in the movie, but almost it's not like in a tasteful way. where you're like, this is bad, and this is kind of this is why she left and stayed in America type of thing. The movie almost comes off as like pro-communism, which is I'm sure not a shocker to anybody. It's very subtle, but like there's certain scenes where it's just like, you guys aren't really going out of your way to imply that this is bad. You know, like especially when they go to Cuba and the kids are being abducted for the first scene, and David's character, what's that guy's name? David Harbour or something?
Yeah.
Fucking Red Guardian. Just the way they were like portraying his character, his love for the daughters, and like how it was like the best for him, and like he's a no nonsense, no compromise type of guy. He's for the cause, but it's like you kind of made it seem like the cause was worth it right there. You didn't have like this foreshadowing moment at all where you'd think that like, oh, he's going to regret this moment. In fact, he never does. Like there's a moment at the very end where he's like, I'm sorry, I wasn't a good father or anything, but they didn't like, you know, at all touch on the idea that the ideology in the area they left was a very big problem.
Yeah. No, they made David Harbour's commie Russian Captain America the most likable character in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is it kind of like, that's the red herring, like that's the lantern that they hung. Like you're kind of passively dissecting it as you talk, but like if you really want to boil it down, it's like, yes, when you make a character the most likable character of a movie, that is the message you're sending. That whatever their message is the message. So, astute observation, this is a pro-communist movie. It plainly is.
So yeah, miss me with that communism shit.
The movie starts with the capitalist chasing the innocent Black Widow, and her being like, "Don't chase me, I'm so much better than you." And then, you know, that her spoofing them in that building or whatever, and led by like the CIA or the FBI of America and everything. And, you know, they kind of frame them as the villains. America is kind of the villain, even though they're not the villain, but they're framed as one, even though they're barely in it, and it's a very passive framing. But you can just see the nuts and the bolts of this movie paint a very clear picture.
Down with America. That's the picture.
That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, my miss is a little bit simpler. It's just the CG. When I watch a big budget Hollywood, Marvel, Disney movie, I know it's going to be shit most likely, but I at least expect the budget to be good and for the effects to be amazing. Like, I don't like Endgame. I think Avengers Endgame is a shit movie, but the CG was fucking amazing in that movie.
Yeah, it was.
Black Widow is both a shit movie and has some of the most D-grade CG I've seen in ages for one of these types of releases. I could not believe some of the shitty effects I saw in this movie. It's bad. Like, it just felt cheap. Every single scene felt cheap. Like a high school student could do it.
I'm sure they weren't they're too far away from that demographic. People in charge of making the CGI.
Yeah.
They were probably fresh out of school, you know what I'm saying? It seems like it's what just Disney screams, or MCU screams now.
Mm-hmm. Kicking a dead horse. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, what is your whiff?
I mean, honestly, just like the base or like the actual OG story of Black Widow, like the Red Room and stuff, like it all just sucked. It was lame. The Red Room was super weak. All the Black Widow agents or whatever were super weak. Like there was just no good fight scene. Like there was
Dude,
no
that
way,
fight scene
there
where
was
the
no,
Black
like,
Widow chicks came in to fight Black Widow. You know what I'm talking about? Where it was almost like a scene from Black Panther. It felt like Wakanda a little bit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking
That
about.
scene was so bad. Like, I was laughing while I was watching that scene, and that's not what I was supposed to do, but that's what I was doing.
It was just such a shitty take on the Red Room origin story for Black Widow, because she's had some really cool, like, stories, and I don't really know if Black Widow's ever had, like, really cool. I think she has one really successful standalone comic, but for the most part, she's just been a really cool, interesting side character for the most part. And this was like their opportunity to like touch on like the coolest part of her character, and it just like it was the least budgeted MCU, least created, like creatively bankrupt,
Least everything.
actors, phoned in actors, just everything. It's like, why? Like, you don't really get a lot of opportunities to do origin stories on characters that often, and usually when they do come up, they're the good ones. Iron Man 1, Captain America, Hulk, these are all pretty solid movies.
Man.
Wolverine was they're just, different companies, studios, but still, like, nonetheless, it's like, these are big opportunities for the people in charge to do things the best to their ability, the best, is the best hand you could be dealt. You're getting the cream of the crop as far as like content for the character goes. And just like you said, low budget sci-fi channel type CGI.
Yeah, dude. Like I could totally see Sharknado leading into this movie. Like if they were like at 7 p.m. on the Sci-Fi Channel, Sharknado at 9 p.m. Black Widow. Like I could just see that. Like they fit almost.
Right after Anaconda, the third run of Anaconda.
Well, no, Anaconda comes after to like palate cleanse after that garbage everyone just watched for 4 hours. Like now we're gonna watch, Jennifer or J-Lo at her hottest battle a giant 50-foot snake with Ice Cube.
Remember?
Yes.
John Boy got eaten by that snake and fucking came out and fucked it up.
Then at 2 a.m., Ghosts of Mars, and the circle is complete. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, my whiff is sort of in the same vein, but a little different. My whiff is the entire opening scene of this movie, which is the backstory to the movie, which is like the quote-unquote origin to the Black Widow.
This is where you're initially supposed to sink your teeth in, right? Where you're like, oh,
it was so bad. Like you could tell they were going for like a Stranger Things vibe, and they had David Harbour as one of the main characters. So like it ties into like they're just like, oh, look at Black Widow riding her bike home in the middle of the 90s. It suspiciously looks like the 80s, but it said 95, so we're gonna go with that. Wait a second, is Scarlett Johansson being played by a boy? What the fuck? Okay, Broadcaster Nickels. What in the fuck happened in the casting room for this 90s scene with the child versions of the sisters?
Oh, it's just Agenda 101. Because that's what kids look like back in 95.
Bro. I was watching this and like instantly at the beginning, I'm like, oh, great. We're going to start it with a blue-haired, strong woman in 1995 when, listen, I was 11 in 1995. I remember what girls that age looked like in 1995. None of them had blue hair. There were no blue-haired women at all in the 90s. Like blue hair is not a thing back then. Just casually riding her bike, and then like as the scene goes on, it like does like a close-up with her and her little sister, and I'm looking and I'm like, that's a boy. That's not a girl. That is a boy.
It's a transgender. So
then I'm like, okay, wait a second. At this point, I'm like, I start to confuse myself, and I start to think that Black Widow is actually Scarlet Witch. And I'm like, wait a second. Is this Scarlet Witch's brother? And this is actually a movie about Scarlet Witch, and she's the younger sister, and that the older brother is a trans as a child, and that's why he dies later in the movies? Like, and I'm like, my mind's just explaining, like, what's happening right now? But then at the end, David Harbour, when they're about to stick needles in his daughter's necks, he's like, you want to know why you're going to do great, my strong female daughters? 'Cause you're so strong. You're the strongest daughters. And he looks at, like, the obviously female younger daughter, then looks at the obviously male older kid who is apparently Scarlett Johansson as a child. What the fuck?
Well, Scarlett Johansson was a transgender, like a real transgender. She had like technically, I think like I forget how the story goes, but she was like a real hermaphrodite or something like that. Like her ovaries partially developed into testicles or something like that, and she had to have surgery.
Wait, are you talking about the real Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah. Like when she was...
Your future ex-wife is a hermaphrodite?
Hey, dude, I'm just saying, like, with technology and everything, they made one of the hottest women in the world. So. But yeah, she, like, I guess it's a thing, like, I looked it up, like, a lot of, like, females have to have this done. Like, it's not, like, just, like, a cosmetic thing or, like, a identity thing. Like, it has to be done because it kills them. Like, the testicles develop, like, because the ovaries are the testicles, right? The ovaries develop into testicles if you're a man. And what happens is like, sometimes the ovaries will start to get slightly bigger, like they're going to turn into testicles, and they're still inside you in an awkward way. And so it's like actually causing you pain or like something like that. So they have invasive surgery that
wait a
like
second,
fixes it somehow.
So you're telling me that the reason they cast a boy to play Scarlett Johansson as a child as in this movie is a meta with her real life medical history? Is that your theory?
I mean, it's quite the coincidence, isn't it?
I couldn't, dude. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know anything what you just said. It could be true, but I could not believe what I was watching early on in this movie. I'm just like, as when he like, my two daughters are so strong. I'm like, dude, that's a boy. Like, what are you talking about? Your two daughters? That's a boy. And then it like goes like 20, 30 years later.
Androgynous. Like,
it goes like 30 years later, and then it's like Scarlett Johansson. I'm like, no, that was not you. Like, you did not grow up from that. Like, give me a fucking break. He had an Adam's apple. Get the fuck out of here. Dude, that whole thing it set a tone for me with this movie. I couldn't get over it. Like, that whole thing just made me look at this movie in a lens of discretion. Put it that way. But as you know, Broadcaster Nickels, here in the Crack Cellar, we have an official, patented cage rating system that we apply to all the movies, good and bad, that we talk about here on the Crack Cellar Podcast. And Broadcaster Nickels, on that system, I have to ask you, what do you rate Black Widow?
Witcher. Otherwise, sorry, not Witcher. The Wicker Man. I'm gonna give it. Was that a D or is it a C? No, Rock's a C.
You invented this rating system, goddammit.
I created it in about 2 minutes.
And I forgot it in one.
But yeah, I'm gonna give it a Wicker Man. It's a terrible fucking movie.
Well, Broadcaster Nickels,
Scarlett Johansson in it, so yeah.
Well, Broadcaster Nickels, your transvestite bride aside, I'm going to give this a steaming hot pile of Ghost Rider. This movie defines the Ghost Rider rank. When I was watching it, all I thought about the entire time, like, this is a Ghost Rider. I thought about that multiple times. Like every corny moment, like when the daughter or when the little sister drops down and does the same dumb splits thing, and then like mocks her older sister, even though she's the one who just did it. The first thing goes to mind, like Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider.
I seen Nick Cage tipping his cowboy hat, and that's
like
it.
It's like that duo's 90 action star look they give each other when they know something. They just kind of give that nod to each other. They're just like, Ghost Rider.
Yeah, this is a definitive Ghost Rider. I think this is the worst thing I've reviewed in the year 2021. So I'm going to say, out of everything we've reviewed this year, this is my least favorite of all of them. I could not believe how shoddy the acting was, the directing was, the writing was, just the overall craftsmanship of this movie. When you think about the budget behind it, Disney being behind it, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, just like the pillars of power sitting behind this movie, and it's just this turd that you would see in like circa 2003 Sci-Fi Channel at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night. You're just like, God damn, dude.
Goddamn sums it up quite right. We're talking about Scarlett Johansson, right?
And with that, we'll close out.
It's a true story. We're not getting sued.
Turns out this movie was just a paid promotional material for Caitlyn Jenner's run for California governor.